Then you can start now. I think we have all the speakers, panelists present, so you can go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, I think we have still one speaker left. He hasn't joined, Mr. Raju Pandit. But shall we start?
Okay, I think we can start. He will join.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Our first speaker joined, Professor Shailaja.
Yes.
Yes, she joined. Okay, good to see you. Yeah, Professor.
Good to see you too, Misan.
Yeah, okay. So, Fatin, please start.
Okay. So, thank you, sir. So, hello, everyone. Good afternoon from Dhaka, Bangladesh. My name is Fatin Fateh. I am the Program Assistant in the Gobeshona Program of International Center for Climate Change and Development. And we are the organizer of the South Asia Regional Resilience Hub. I'm going to say a few words about the South Asia Regional Resilience Hub and what's going to happen and in the 7-day-long virtual event. In this opening session, we have some eminent South Asian leaders who are experts in the resilience building in South Asia, and today we will hear about their work for resilience in South Asia. Before commencing the process, let me start by giving a little overview of the South Asia Regional Resilience Hub. This 7-day-long virtual event will play a crucial role in delivering the overreaching vision of the Resilience Hub by ensuring the voices and perspective of the most vulnerable and climate affected of this region are amplified and increasingly drive the global resilience agenda in the next 10 years, and will continue to lead the R2R process for South Asia region. Following this vision, we are going to, we'll be doing a 7-day-long virtual session, starting with the inaugural session today, and will span in 6 thematic days where more than 38 organizations of South Asia will conduct 24 sessions. The themes are finance and investments, water and nature ecosystem, food and agriculture, humanitarian action and disaster risk reduction, infrastructure, energy and mobility, and citizen urbanization. So today's session was supposed to be moderated by Dr. Salimul Haq sir, but due to some unavoidable circumstances, he couldn't join today's session. So on behalf of Dr. Haq, today's session will be moderated by Professor Mizan R. Khan, sir, who is the Deputy Director of International Center for Climate Change and Development. So without further ado, let's hear it from Professor Mizan. Sir, I would like to request you to take it from here. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Very much for initiating the South Asian Resilience Hub. You all know that South Asia is a region which faces challenges both from poverty and vulnerability. So, and these two phenomena feed each other. So achieving resilience, adaptive capacity and resilience is a great challenge for the region as a whole. And we are so geographically proximate that each of the country is so closely linked that we need to work together, we need to move together. With this end, our session will start, and we will be hearing a great list of panelist speakers, beginning with Professor Shailaja Fennell, if I'm pronouncing it well, your name. Okay, so my colleague Fatin has already shared the objective of this session today, and this will continue for 6 days long. And Gobeshona, you know, a Bangla word, I think now got familiar worldwide. It's research, literally meaning. In Bangladesh, we have organized, ICAD initiated organizing this research platform, which includes both academic and non-academic stakeholders, both academics and practitioners. And I, as the technical lead of the LDC Universities Consortium, also advocate for establishing this kind of platform in other African countries. And some of the African countries, including in Nepal in Asia, also established this kind of research platform. So with these words, let me invite first speaker, Professor Fennell, who is a professor of economic security and resilience, as well as director of the South Asian Center at Cambridge University. So I hope we will have, and let me mention here that each of the speaker, either with formal PowerPoint presentation or not, will have 8 minutes maximum, so that we can have a little time for the question answer discussion with the audience. So with these words, let me invite Professor Fennell to share your thoughts.
Thank you so much, Dr. Khan. Thank you, Fatin, for inviting me. I'll just share my slides, if I may. I hope that you can see my slides. And we are very grateful to ICCAD for their collaboration with us at Cambridge. We have learned many things from Dr. Haq, and we are very excited to continue to work with him and with all of you in South Asia. As mentioned, I am director of the Center of South Asian Studies and a land economist or an applied economist in my day job. And we have been working on the theme of resilience for the last 3 years as a major area where we could bring together our ideas. I would like to share some of the ongoing research that we're doing in this regard. And as Dr. Khan said, we are very aware that unless communities are brought into the picture and their knowledge systems are further valorized, it is very difficult to talk about economic security, without which economic resilience or social resilience is impossible. So I begin with a set of statistics which are familiar to all of us, but just to remind ourselves that the impact of climate change will obviously be on the natural environment, and it affects all communities, rural communities or communities in the hills and the mountains, because they are affected by the heat and the drought. Largely, this is due and often not recognized adequately because of the impact on water, hence the title of Food and Water Security for Communities. And of course, the HKH, as well as the Ganga Brahmaputra Magna basins, both of them together have the greatest amount of water and therefore variation in water with the advance of heat waves. This also affects those who are predominantly in the informal sector in South Asia, because the number of heat stress days above 38 to 40 degrees, will increase beyond 250 a year. And that is a very challenging scenario. It is in that context that we are looking at recent research and working in Cambridge as well at multi-scalar models that study this from the level of the planet to the level of the individual community. Here's a recent paper a set of papers that look at the stress of water in the Hindu Kush area. And as again, Dr. Khan has said, this is clearly a trans-border area. So I'm going to look at 2 areas of water security, one in relation to food, and another in relation to biodiversity. And the argument we are making with colleagues in Cambridge is that they work together. If we do not have enough biodiversity, we cannot have food security or water security. Here we can clearly see that there's an increase in stress across the region. Again, this is IPCC data. In this context, there's been some very interesting work done by scientists, but working with communities in the Himalayan region. This is looking at 2 glaciers in the upper Alaknanda region, and in both the glaciers are shrinking. However, it is difficult for scientists to understand how and why they are shrinking. And this group of scientists has looked and created a new criteria for measuring. So not only they're looking at shrinkage, they're looking at shrinkage around spatial types. So they have created the notion of cirque, compound, hanging, mountain, simple. These are different shrinkages, and they will shrink at different rates. This work was done by glaciologists, but interestingly, not only did they create a glacial inventory, which is important, they recognize at the next stage, which I hope very much could be created going forward from 2023, is working with communities to see how they recognize those same changes. So while it's important to use glacial data to understand the changes from satellites, to match that with social science methods so that communities can become aware and explain how they themselves have seen these changes would be valuable. This leads me to a point that we all know, which the IUCN has picked up, which is going to be discussed in COP28. We know that in South Asia, there are a large number of national programs. Nepal, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, all have different kinds of programs to advance nature-based solutions. what we need to do is to work across boundaries, because whether it is communities on one side of the boundary or the other, it is the water supply that crosses the boundaries that is so important to understand. And as we know, with great difficulty, the difficulties of migration across boundaries, for example, the movement of people across the Sundarbans in relation to the changes that are occurring to their livelihoods. And so I move to the final stage where the new work that is being done, which is bringing science and social science together, the ideas of, if you like, socio-hydrology, the fact that we could maybe model agent behavior, that is human behavior, and combine that with the work that glaciologists or others are doing, which is the behavior in the natural world, to understand who talks to whom. So for example, in the work we have done, which farmer talks to which farmer to get what information. That kind of modeling can be used quite successfully at the micro level with the modeling that we are doing at a higher multiscalar with hydrological levels. And so the idea of the socio-hydrologist is to look across these scales, different spatial scales, different time scales, because we can of course map across decades to the daily, but also different human scales. So what has happened in the last 4 years is socio-hydrology is one example of human water interactions which can be used for public policy making. This we think is quite exciting because it allows the possibility of matching choices of humans with changes in the natural world, particularly where there's a policy change. And therefore a natural experiment could be conducted, be it in relation to a policy like the creation of Ramsar, which I'm going to move to in a minute, or changes in the agricultural space into new farmer policies. And if we look finally at the Ramsar sites across the world, there is a need similarly to that in water systems to understand within Ramsar sites what is happening, because these biodiversity sites are wetland sites and they too are losing water. Between 1980 and 2004, there is evidence of this. So I finally come to the point, why Ramsar and cross-border and why South Asia? Because it is very clear that the water disputes that we have on fresh water also affect what is happening in the wetlands. So I conclude, to understand resilience in South Asia, communities' understanding of livelihoods, particularly how they understand their water systems and their livelihoods, particularly food production, have to be put together in a complex, multi-scalar way, which will require neural network analysis in the social frame, as well as hydrological and ecological in the natural frame. Thank you so much for your attention.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Fennell, for your excellent presentation and keeping the time just, excellent. So we will have question and answer session later. Now let me have the privilege of inviting Mr. Mehdi Hassan, who is the country manager of the Global Center on Adaptation. It's a regional center, but based in South Asia. So over to you, Mr. Hassan, for your
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Professor Khan. So let me take the opportunity to introduce first Global Center on Adaptation. Then I will focus what is the model that we are working on, like the operational model of Global Center on Adaptation. And lastly, I will focus what we are doing in South Asia and particularly in Bangladesh. So Global Center on Adaptation is a center of excellence. We are working as a solution broker. So it is an international organization so that acts as a solution broker to accelerate global action for climate adaptation solutions from the international level to the local, and in partnership with government, private sector, and civil society to ensure we learn from each other and work together. So we have global office headquartered in Rotterdam, Netherlands, and then we have research office in University of Groningen, Netherlands. We have regional offices in Africa. We are based in Abidjan, Ivory Coast. In China, we have regional office, and we have regional office in Bangladesh for South Asia. So South Asia Regional Office was inaugurated in 2020 by Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina together with 8th Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. So in Bangladesh, we are hosted by Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, and we have a MOU with the ministry, and we are operating from the Department of Environment located in Dhaka. So hosted by ministry, and we are working very closely with other ministries as well. So we have close working relationship with Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and we have also applied to become a development partner in Bangladesh, and we are working with different government ministries, departments, multilateral development banks, international financial institutes, NGOs, and universities. So we have unique model of working. So we call it upstream financial facility, upstream financing facility. So investing millions to impact billions. So what does it mean? So we have well-defined business lines designed to influence investments at a scale. So we work very closely with multilateral development banks, bilateral financial institutions, and private institutions. And then after a fruitful engagement, we identify projects, and we do joint review of the pipeline with IFIs and GOB executive agencies, ministries, and agreed scope of upstream support to according to GCA business lines. Then internally we have GCA project appraisal committee, and afterwards we start working with development banks as well as with the respective ministries. So in summary, that GCA support to different projects and programs is basically categorized in 3 broader areas. One is climate analytics, and then we develop adaptation solutions, and then capacity development. So our work has 3 strategic areas like program and action, advocacy and agenda setting, and research for impact. So as I already mentioned that in Bangladesh, we have started working in 2020, but Bangladesh work program was developed and started with the financing from British government. In February 2022, we started implementing programs. So in Bangladesh, we have different pillars or sector areas that we are organized. We have organized our work program in Bangladesh. So initially, the focus is on locally led adaptation, and then infrastructure, nature-based solution, water and urban, and climate finance. We are also scoping on agriculture, food security, and youth and employment. So we are very happy and proud that this Bangladesh work program is financed by UK, British High Commission, and then also now very recently Canadian government. So in through our different program areas in Bangladesh, Global Hub on locally led adaptation, the objective is to focus on adaptation needs of the most vulnerable, promote local leadership and more effective investments, connect locally led adaptation best practices with finance for implementation, knowledge creation and sharing, and capacity development support to local government and communities, and advocacy and agenda setting. So the locally under the locally led adaptation, we launched Global Hub, and the Global Hub was launched by Honorable Prime Minister in December 2022. And under this program, we are also awarding local adaptation champions. These champions are awarded usually in COP. At the moment, we are running the process, and in COP 28, there will be again award of champions. So we publish stories of resilience annually, and we are also institutionalizing capacity for LLA and supporting partnership and coordination. So as part of LLA, we are also working with different municipalities. For example, in Mongla, we are supporting Mongla municipality to prepare locally led plans. So locally led plans in community level, ward level, as well as in the town level. Similarly, we are also scaling up these plans in other 3 municipalities. So we are also connecting the plans with the financing. For example, the municipalities we are working in Putuakhali, Bhola, and Borguna. So these are financed by Asian Development Bank funded projects, Coastal Town and Climate Resilient Project. This Coastal Town Climate Resilient Project is funded by ADB and Bangladesh government and being implemented in 22 municipalities. So in this project, so we are preparing like locally led plans for the community, but also ward level and the town level. So we are also supporting Chittagong Wasa with the World Bank funded project for connecting low income communities with formal water supply system. So these are our locally led adaptation program. And then under nature-based solution and infrastructure, we are also mainly working with Asian Development Bank, World Bank, Asian Infrastructure Investment Banks. We are providing technical assistance to the projects. For the coastal town projects under the nature-based solution and infrastructure, we are doing climate risk assessment of 22 municipalities, and then identification and appraisal of nature-based solution as the adaptation strategies and resilience options. We are also developing capacity for adaptation, including locally led adaptation and nature-based solutions. So under Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank funding projects, so we are also supporting Hatir Kumul Bonopara Jinaida phase 1 road projects. So it's funded by Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. Under this project, we are also providing climate analytics as well as capacity development of respective executing agencies, consultants, and contractors. So we have also started a masterclass on climate resilient infrastructure. So under this, we are training respective MDB officials, but most importantly, ministry and government executing agencies who are mandated for implementing infrastructure programs. So we have developed the masterclass, and we are going to launch it next week with the convening of Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Under water and urban portfolio, we are supporting more than 200 municipalities through different MDB funded programs and projects. So we largely working with Asian Development Bank, World Bank, and then again Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, KfW and AFD. So under this water and urban program, our technical assistance includes a climate risk assessment, and then we are preparing handbook how to prepare climate risk informed master plans. We are also developing a compendium with IUCN how to integrate nature-based solution in urban infrastructure planning. And then finally, we are also going to launch a masterclass for urban resilience for developing capacity of the respective officials in government departments, but more interestingly for the consultants and contractors, so that they can deliver resilience on the ground. So, and then from a climate finance portfolio, we are working with a respective national designated authority and MIE and NIEs. We are supporting PKSF for reaccreditation, as well as we are supporting to develop a concept note and funding proposals. In addition to that, we are also going to launch a masterclass for climate finance. So under the climate finance masterclass, we are again going to train up the respective officials how to do the climate rational, develop concept note and funding proposal for international and different financing sources. So this is the summary of our work program in Bangladesh. We are scaling up. We are scaling up at the moment. We're scaling up in Bangladesh, but also in South Asia. We are in discussion with Nepal, Sri Lanka, and other countries, as well as some development partners. So hopefully in next year, we are going to scale up our operation in South Asian countries. So in summary, the GCA upstream finance facility, how we are delivering resilience and adaptation agenda. We are providing our main technical assistance in project preparation through climate analytics, and then developing adaptation solutions and capacity development through masterclass and different capacity development supports. We work very closely with development banks, ministry and executing agencies, local government institutions, and communities. So that's all from my side. I'll be very happy to answer if there is any question.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mehdi Hassan, for sharing your innovative mechanism of upstream financing and public-private partnership. We will certainly have questions from the audience, so please stay with us. Now, let me invite our third speaker. I'm going by the program that I have gotten. So the third speaker is Mr. Zubair Rashid, who is the country representative of ICLEI South Asia. ICLEI stands for the International Council, as I understand, for Climate Initiative. Okay. So, Mr. Zubair Rashid, you have the floor.
Thank you, Dr. Mijan. Before starting my points to this important event, let me introduce myself. My name is Mohammad Zubair Rashid. I represent ICLEI South Asia. I will come back on our organization and brief about our works. Before going to our works, just let me congratulate and my heartfelt thanks to the organizer, International Center for Climate Change and Development, and all other the panelists. Good morning and greetings of the day. So I will talk about 3-4 points. Like at first, I will tell about our organization. What is ICLEI South Asia? ICLEI South Asia is a international city network and also is a non-for-profit organizations. We call it city association because the organization works based on the membership of different cities all around the world. So we called it also as well a membership-based international city network. So basically, we have all around 20 or more than 20 international offices across the globe, and as well as there are different secretariats. Like in South Asia, we are calling it ICLEI South Asian Secretariat, and we have an office in Bangladesh, which is a part of like a country office of ICLEI South Asia. We are working in South Asian region since 2005, and officially in Bangladesh since 2018. But in Bangladesh, we have started working particularly in the field of climate resilient and capacity building since 2010. So what ICLEI does, ICLEI's work is basically based on 5 pathways. We are calling it 5 pathways, like low emission development, nature-based development, equitable and people-centered development, resilient development, and circular development. In Bangladesh, since we are working from 2010, we have experience to work with almost more than 10 cities in all around the Bangladesh, like Rajshahi, Mangla, Borishal, Sirajganj, Faridpur, as well as even Dhaka, Narayanganj. Mostly, we have worked on resilient development and low emission development. Let me share some of our remarkable works. Like as we said that we are in Bangladesh, we are mostly focused on resilient development. In 2017, we have developed, though it is quite old to share here in this forum, but let me share. In 2017, we have developed 7 city resilience strategy. Just to share our works, as lots of panelists are here, if we can work collaboratively in the future. So again, in 2021, we have developed 2 climate action plan for Rajshahi and Narayanganj. The work in 2017 that was based on mostly climate adaptation strategies, but in 2021, what we have developed for Rajshahi and Narayanganj, those climate action plans are in combination of both climate adaptation and mitigation strategies. We developed separate greenhouse emission inventory for Narayanganj city as well as for Rajshahi city, and also we conducted climate risks and vulnerability studies for both cities. Currently, we are also supporting both Dhaka South City Corporation and North City Corporation for developing 2 separate climate action plan similar to Rajshahi and Narayanganj. Hopefully, by end of this year, we can publish, we can launch, at least we can launch both separate climate action plan for Dhaka cities as well. We also work for, we are basically work for urban local governments, and that's why we are calling it city network. Mostly in Bangladesh municipalities, in Bengali it is Poroshobha, and also we work for city corporations. Type of our works are mostly covered technical assistance, developing strategies, policies, and as well as we also support these cities for implementing some scalable or pilot projects, which are mostly relevant to climate action, so that the cities can take up from the results from the pilots and they can implement or scale up by their own capacities. We also advocate the national planning agencies, like not for national planning agencies, mostly focus on national relevant ministries like Ministry of Environment, Planning Commission, as well as some of the Department of Environment. What we do, we provide strategic platform to these ministries, so that the ministry can also came across to know the global knowledge on climate resilience. We also provide capacity development for cities, municipalities. So recently, we are also supporting some of important municipalities like Shirazganj, Shatkhira, and also Rajshahi for how to, what is to understand what is climate change, what are the impacts of climate change, what are the national targets, and how they can integrate these national targets into their local plan. These are our most important words to share in this forum, and as well as let me share some challenges and key takeaways through this event, so that we can consider in future and upcoming 6 days discussions. So when we develop some similar climate action plans, or we conduct some capacity building works, or also we conduct some dialogues in between local and national platforms. So we found that there is a significant gap between local level and national level. We saw that there is the local city officials or local level planning agencies do not know the national targets, do not know the sectoral importance that included in the national climate change policies, like Mujib Climate Prosperity Plan, what we have included in the NDCs, the National GHG Emission Reduction Targets. So through this event, if we can highlight these challenges, if we can discuss on this, that how we can reduce the gap, the knowledge gap, and how we can increase our effort in the upcoming days to reduce the knowledge gap for both national and local level. Thank you. That's it from my side.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Rashid, for your excellent interventions in terms of city-based resilience. And finally, at the end, you have mentioned about the gaps between the local and national level government agencies. Yes, there are gaps. And also, you have some similarities with earlier speakers, which at the end we'll share. So with this, let me now go to our fourth panelist today, Mr. Raju Pandit Shetri, who is the Executive Director of the Prakriti Resources Center based in Kathmandu. And I can say Raju is also a climate negotiator focusing on climate finance internationally. So welcome, Raju. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Professor Mizan. I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Thank you. First of all, namaste and good afternoon to everyone. Just wanted to say congratulations, and it's a great initiative that the ICAD has initiated, the South Asian Regional Resilience Hub. I think this is a very good timing where we all can come together to really do this learning, sharing, have interactions among a lot of stakeholders, and really build knowledge around this resilience related to climate change. Of course, with the growing impacts of climate change all over South Asia, of course, worldwide, but also typically in our context, given that geographically the country, the South Asian region is also very diverse. So I think this learning from each other, from among different stakeholders and the practices, good examples, or some of the learnings that could have improved in the future. I think this is an excellent opportunity where the hub can really play a great role. So in that particular context, again, let me congratulate you, Chad and Professor Mizan, also Salim and others, and the entire team for this excellent initiative. I'm sure that this initiative will go beyond the boundary of our countries and other region to also do the learning from other regions as well. So in that particular context, let me just highlight a few things in our perspective. First, on the national context, well, if you see Nepal's, the impacts that Nepal has been facing, it's tremendously growing over time, and we have varieties of events. Even in this year, we had, the risk of glacier melting to landslides, a lot of floodings, several, dozens of people killed and lost, and millions of dollars worth properties being lost. However, in this particular context, Nepal government and the other stakeholders are working on doing the adaptation and resilience building activities. For instance, the Nepal government is also now trying to embed the resilience part into the climate change impacts into the 5-year development plans and the yearly planning process. It's already doing. It is trying to build on its own learning of the past 1 decade of doing the local adaptation plan of action, how the adaptation work can be embedded into the national planning process, not just at the national level, but also at the subnational and the provincial level, where the learning has been really integrated into it. Similarly, now the concept of loss and damage is something that the government is also working into, how to nationalize this, what are the elements that is already the countries has strength in building it, and how we can further learn from it. For instance, now Prakriti Resources Center is very much involved into this learning, trying to learn from the past work and advance the work on loss and damage. We're initiating this research, of course, also to help that we can initiate in the context of Nepal's government's initiative, we can complement it to that and really build into that. But similarly, what I can say is now the resilience is something that now it cannot be seen alone in the context of Nepal, but also look at from the addressing poverty, looking at meeting the goals of the sustainable development agendas, as well as looking at the entirety of how do you address development and climate impacts at the same time. So without this being a work together, I think building the resilience of the communities on the ground is extremely difficult. So that is one angle that the countries have been really working out. But again, Nepal is also a very small country, but also equally very diverse. So in terms of building resilience, we have been looking into how and the social inclusion can be a part of it. For instance, addressing the issues of indigenous people, or bringing gender into angle, and also other marginalized communities really being a part of this. So I think in that particular sentence, this is something that Nepal can really share its experience. The other part is also, I want to touch a bit on the international context. Well, if we are working into this resilience building, then one of the aspects is we're also getting a lot of help from the international communities in terms of climate finance or the development finance, where this can be embedded into to build the resilience of the communities. Of course, the experiences that we have has to link not just at the national context, but gradually, I think the hub can also in the future play its role, that how within the country, the experiences are being shared, how these national experiences are shared at the regional context, and how the regional experiences are taken into the international context. I think the hub already has a plan to do that at COPs and various other international forums of two-way process. One, local to national, national to regional, and the international, same at the same time. What is being done or agreed at the international level, how can that be nationalized and taken into the particular local context? I think in that particular context, accessing resources, sharing experiences, learning from others will be very much important. The third point that I also wanted to talk about is in the process of this work being taken forward, the capacity building with both related to human resource and institutional building is an important element, because until and unless we don't do the resilience, what we have seen as a part of the lacking is that unless we take into account the local human resources who can really learn from it, implement it, build that cycle and going forward. But at the same time, that being institutionalized, whether it's a government institution, whether NGO, private sector, all these are very equally important aspect where you try to do this learning among the stakeholders and really build that work into their work, so that the the work can be that we do does help communities to really build that the capacity is very important concept. Because one of the things what we have seen in the past is always we say that there are international consultants and trying and coming and doing work for us. But what Nepal is also trying to lately really do is, if there's a potentiality within the country for the institutional and then the human resources, then how do you make best use of this, rather than always bringing in helicopter, consultants, and then they do some work for some time and then they go back. So that is not being sustainable. So in the context of building resilience, I think the institution and human resource building is also equally important. And I guess that the hub can also do that. How the good practices are being done in other countries, how that is that experience is being contained or brought in the countries is something that that can really looked into. And finally, my concept is also this regional cooperation is an excellent way of trying to help each other. Because if we see that now, Nepal is a mountainous country like the India and other countries, but at the same time, I think like Bangladesh is a low-lying coastal country where we are a landlocked country. The linkage between how we make between mountains and the sea level rise is a very important element. I think this kind of cross-boundary elements of the examples and practices of resilience building is something that it will be equally important to learn, separating from one another. This is related to not just the government to government, but also from stakeholders, like, stakeholders to stakeholders in terms of people to people relationship, working on cross-boundary, learning from each other, sharing experiences, building networks, and trying to build our capacity in a way that, in the future that we might need less resources, or even any resources that is brought from outside are made in the best interest of the countries and the region. I think that is where we need to really look into this, because one of the things about the component that we are building is there are a lot of things that we are doing, learning by doing approach. For instance, as I mentioned earlier, the loss and damage is something we're still in the process of implementing and learning from it. There are lots of things that we implemented almost LAPA for 15 years in the country, but there are a lot of learnings that is also being made, which you can further, we have to sharpen them. The skills that didn't work need to be changed. We have to contextualize the things based in the current needs of the people. I think that aspect of resilience is also very much important. I truly believe that I don't want to be very specific and prescriptive here, but just wanted to say that the idea of the hub itself is an excellent idea, where the elements that I've shared can be in the future really brought together. And in that particular concept, in Nepal, of course, our organization, PRC, would be very much willing to join hands with you all to really take this forward. And again, I would, Professor Mizan, that I would really like to wish very best of luck to your institution for taking the initiatives. And we would be very happy to play our role in the future in whatever way we can. Thank you very much, and back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Raju. Yes, PRC have been a partner for us for long years, and we will be working together. The ideas and issues that you have focused are extremely important, particularly your interpretation of resilience to cover not just poverty, but development issues. In fact, what Professor Fennell has mentioned to begin with, that economic security is the foundation of resilience building, which includes other elements that all the panel speakers you have shared with. So with this, let me now invite the next speaker in our list is Dr. Surendra Raj Joshi, who is the head of the Living Mountain Lab at ACMOD. You all must be knowing that ACMOD is an excellent organization doing work in the Himalayan Hindu Kush region, doing research on resilience, on adaptation, on capacity building, etc. So, Mr. Joshi, Dr. Joshi, please.
Thank you, Professor Mizan. So, yeah, I congratulate this International Climate Change and Development Center for organizing this topic on
Mr. Joshi, I think you have some problem with your audience, with your audio system. We are not
Sorry?
hearing you, Mr. Yes, now we do.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
we can
now
hear
we
you.
do.
Yeah.
We do hear, yes.
Okay, thank you. So for each mode, the distinguished panelists highlighted the need of, how we can connect this adaptation, disaster risk, economic sustainability together. So for each modes, they are not one or other, they all contribute to each other. For example, the right adaptation leads to resilience, and more the resilience means less the vulnerability and the less the adaptation need. And any efforts that we make to ensure sustainability, whether it is resource sustainability or the green pathways or the nature-based solutions, all these will lead to resilience. And what each mode is doing in this field, the first thing is understanding what are the risks and vulnerabilities in the Hindu Kush Himalaya region that extends from Afghanistan to Myanmar. Bringing more than 200 experts from the region and from also the globe, this mode has prepared a landmark assessment for the Hindu Kush Himalaya region that is 2019. And then the second outlook, that is about the water, ice, society, and ecosystem, how these cascading impacts are happening here. And when we talk about the resilience, what are the things that we can do at multi-scale and the multi-temporal levels. So this report, we call it Hindu Kush Himalaya Assessment Report, HIMAP report. It says that even this 1.5 degree global is too much for the Hindu Kush Himalaya region. By 1.5 degree global, we are going to lose 1/3 of the glacier water volume by the end of century. With the current emission level and the current temperature level, we can lose 2/3 of their volume by the end of this century. The situation is very alarming in this region, and the changes happening in the mountains and the high Himalayas and the Hindu Kush are much more thickening than in other parts of the globe. So responding to these challenges, the first thing we do is about generating these evidences, then supporting national and regional policies. There are so many good practices that the previous speaker highlighted, but the challenge in this region is, the packaging these solutions and scaling them up. There are so many good examples, but they are scattered and remain in the confined locations. Then how we can engage communities at this levels and they strengthen capacity. So our work is at 3 levels. The first one is at the transboundary and the regional level. Here, how best we can share the information and knowledge. For example, this climatic data, this early warning system, to run the early warning system, to have a good plan for the pollutions. What we need is the cooperation at the transboundary level. Similarly, at sub-national and the national level, we need to know what are the risks at the country level, what are the services and the decision support tools that we can develop together with the national stakeholders, and what kind of infrastructure need to be developed at the country level. The local level, again, there are so many simple, affordable, and replicable practices which include technologies, approaches, tools, but the consistency and the harmonizations is not very effective in this region. So what we try to do is to demonstrate some of these solutions in a particular locations, which include this 3 dimensions of resilience building. The one is the climate resilience, socioeconomic resilience, and the future resilience. This is the framework and the model that we use in piloting and demonstrating all these solutions. The whole idea of demonstrating these solutions is the replication. How the communities and the centers most on the practices that the communities at local level are taking to reduce some of this. This is another example of a cardamom, but I will not go through all these details because I can share my slides with the speakers and the participants of this event. So I am looking after Ishimoto's Living Mountain Lab, which is established in 30 hectares of land, which is 17 kilometers far from the city of Kathmandu, where we have demonstration of 90 plus simple and affordable technologies. We call it basket of options, targeted to smallholders, the medium farmers, as well as the other communities working on water, renewable energy, biodiversity management, and the whole idea is, how we can create co-benefit for the nature and the people with these simple solutions. So whenever you visit Kathmandu or you are in Nepal, you are most welcome to visit this 30 hectares of land in Godavari, which we call Living Labs, is an inspiring story of the restoration. The land was to Ishimoto by government in Nepal in 1994. For building resilience or enhancing adaptation at the local level. So with this, I end my presentation here. Thank you so much. Professor Mishra.
Dr. Joshi, your audio is a little not clear. Hello, Dr. Joshi, are you hearing me? Hello?
Sorry? Yeah, Professor Mishra? Yes. Yes, Professor Mishra?
Yes, you have finished your presentation because audio was not very clear.
Oh, so
Okay.
sorry. Yes, I'm done with my presentations.
Okay, yeah. Thank you very much, Dr. Joshi, for sharing experiences of the geographically diverse mountain region in South Asia. But we have many similarities, as we will hear further. Our last speaker, then we will go to question and answer session. So our last speaker is Mr. Sanjay Varsist, who is the director of the Climate Action Network South Asia. So I'm not sure. I was told that Sanjay is flying now.
Yes, sir.
So Fatin,
Yes, sir.
are
He's
you sure?
fine now.
We will have
He couldn't join. Yeah.
Okay, he couldn't join because he's flying right now.
Yes, sir.
So I think, thank you very much, all the panelists. Now, let us go open up the floor for the audience. So, distinguished participants, if you have any question, comments, you can write in chat box or raise hand and make interventions or ask questions, comments, maximum for 2 minutes. Okay, and you can indicate the panelists that you expect answer from. So, distinguished audience, participants, the floor is now open to you. So, not yet any question, chat box, comments. Fatin, I don't find any
Yes, sir. I
comment.
don't think there is any question. So I guess no, in the Facebook Live there is no questions either. So I guess we can end this session here. So
No, we will not end the session here. We will allow, when we have time, we will allow each speaker to have the last words, 2 minutes each. Since we have, then I will have the option of whatever way I can to summarize the discussion.
yeah, that will
So
be great.
again, again, let us get back to our first speaker, Professor Fennell from Cambridge University. If you are with us, then please have your last comments,
So
max 2 minutes.
so she has a family emergency. She had to leave.
Or she has left. Then let me come to Mr. Mehdi Hassan. If you can summarize your interventions in 2-3 sentences.
Thank you so much. I will summarize, but I would also like to humbly request you, what is the plan of the South Asia regional hub that you are going to do, and how you will continue working and interacting with all of us? Someone of you could clarify. I mean, with this
Yeah,
note,
sure, we'll do.
I would like to
Yeah.
summarize that, as I already mentioned, that we are delivering the adaptation priorities in Bangladesh. We are very much aligned with National Adaptation Plan and Mujib Climate Prosperity Plan. Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change is hosting us, but we are also working with several other ministries, government departments, municipalities and communities. And we are also connecting different levels. For example, we are doing locally led adaptation. We are preparing local level plans, but we are also connecting those plans with financing. So, and in summary, we are providing basically technical assistance, and the 3 areas of technical assistance include climate analytics, developing adaptation solutions, and capacity development. So this is the summary of our work. And we also work with ECAD. So, and we would like to work, we would like to continue working with ECAD, and then we would like to learn a bit more. What is your plan about the South Asia Regional Hub? Over from me.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Hassan. Sure, I will share your response. I will respond to your question at the end. Okay, so let me go to Mr. Rashid. Now, your last words.
Yeah, thank you. So my last word, as I said in my during my time slot, that we can look at how we can reduce the knowledge gap between local and national level. So this is, I think this is the most important, particularly for our country. So how we can increase or transfer more knowledge at local level. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Now to Raju.
Thank you, Professor Mizan. In fact, I also have a question to you actually, but then as Mr. Hassan said, because I joined a bit late, so probably you explained, which I missed probably, but I also wanted to hear a little bit about how the hub plans to work, especially you have mentioned in the objective that it's about learning, sharing, experience exchange, and building on the knowledge that we already currently have. So what are the kind of actions point that you want to forward this or move this ahead? The other thing is at the national context, like in Bangladesh, even Nepal, we already have varieties of forums, at the subnational level and at the national level, where you already exchange information, because PRC itself does national level conference every year to bring between policymakers, planners, and also practitioners to learn and do the sharing so that the local adaptation actions and resilience building is much more stronger. So in that particular context, if there were other players in the country also wanted to be a part of the hub, what would that look like, and how would that possible be? That is the thing that I also wanted to ask you, Professor Mizan. But just to conclude from my part, couple of points. What we would be very much interested in this is, because Nepal does have a quite variety of experience and learnings that has been made. Similarly, there are a lot of good practices done internationally or in the region, like in India or in Bangladesh and other parts. For us, in order for us to learn that part, that localizing those international learning is very essential part. So it's just not about saying what is good work that is being done in certain countries, but how can that be really nationalized or contextualized is a very key component. That is something that we expect to be doing in the future. But for us, rather than just sharing, how do we put into practice the learning that is being made in the other national context is very key, and we look forward to really taking that forward with the regional hub being the center where the learning in the sharing can be done. That is what our expectation would be, and we look forward to your engagement and then in this part going forward. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Raji. Now the final words from Dr. Joshi, please. You are muted, Dr. Joshi.
Thank you. So in ICMO's
Yes.
2030 strategy, we focus on 3 areas. One is the climate and the environmental risks. These risks, they don't recognize the political boundaries. These risks are common across the countries, and how the countries can come together and come up with the collective voice to address some of the risks. This is one aspect. The second one is how we can take a path of green economies. What are the steps that we can take forward? What are the good practices? How we can bring all these good practices together and how we can scale them up? Because there are so many good examples, but they remain in isolated pockets. So how we can take those success stories from one nation or one location or one province to the entire region. And the third one is about how we can harness the power of multiple countries. How, for example, this upstream, downstream linkages, Bangladesh and Nepal, or the countries of the Himalayas and the plains, how we can come together and come with the collective voice to all these global platforms, whether it is UNFCCC or COPs and others. So these are the 3 areas, and I think this is very good initiative of having a regional hub, coming up from local, sub-national, national to the regional level and going with the common one voice to the global platform. This is good initiative. I congratulate you for this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Joshi. So with this, we have come formally to the end of our intervention session. Now I will respond to Mr. Hassan's comments, but first let me summarize the ideas that you all have shared. Professor Fennell has shared about framing of resilience in terms of hydrology and water, economic security, the foundation of which is food security, but she also brought in biodiversity and all those. Mr. Hassan, as the country manager of GCA Bangladesh, has brought in the scaling up the streaming finance, but it is that financing mechanism is grounded to the ground from global to the local level, and locally led adaptation is kind of not just geographically as administrative area, but local. The essence of locally led adaptation is that local must dictate the global, must reform the global. Okay, not the other way around. And NBS also was in your presentation, which is fundamental. And then we got to hear Zubair Rashid, who also mentioned some important areas, because urbanization is a growing phenomenon, and more than 50% of the global population now live in the urban areas, and these will, multiply. So urban resilience also is coming up as a big issue. So far, rural resilience was given a little more focus, but now from, I think, last year, urban resilience also is getting equal attention, and it is also very important. And Raju, you have mentioned about this, as I mentioned, expanding conceptualization of resilience, but one idea that I must mention is Dr. Joshi, you also have referred to, is about cross-border kind of linkage in adaptation and resilience. South Asia is a geographically proximate region, but country-wise, though we are geographically diverse, but we have so many similarities in our resource endowments as well as socioeconomic parameters. So these cross-boundary issues are very important. So now, if we look all these presentations and interventions, we can try to stitch together 2 or 3 themes. For example, economic security as the foundation of adaptation and resilience, and economic security includes environmental security as well, which again brings in nature as the kind of source of survival, which is in crisis, which faces serious and urgent crisis, as we know. And then about stakeholders, society, economics, nature, and society. Social engineering is very complex. As I believe in one saying of Albert Einstein, that social engineering is much more complex than nuclear engineering, because there are so many permutations and combinations, and it is very difficult kind of to maintain a sustainably coherent whole in that. But in South Asia, given good kind of intentions for stakeholders, people to people contacts, as well as government to government relationship, we can have better kind of resilience building. And we have to work together. Geographically, we are one. We cannot escape our geographies as the area we are inhabiting the highest number of poor people on earth other than sub-Saharan Africa. But in terms of numbers, South Asia has the highest number of poverty, poor population, as well as extremely vulnerable. So we need to take care so that our leaders and the peoples work together. And I see a hand at the end. So can you please come just for 1 minute? We have waited for your interventions. Shoaib Ali?
Yes, sir. Sir, he has mentioned his question in the question answer box. He have asked that his question is how to reduce global climate change.
How can we reduce global climate change?
Yes, his question.
Oh, this is the $1 million question that we have been fighting for the last 27 COPs. And Raju and myself are very long-time negotiators. So, in fact, I can tell that 2 most intractable issues in climate negotiations are mitigation, meaning reduction of greenhouse gases, which the fossil powers don't agree to. They are the major emitters, and climate finance. As Mehdi Hassan has mentioned, that finance lies at the foundation of solutions for which they work as a technical agency. But negotiations are an active process. I mentioned that we have 2 kind of COPs. One is Inside COP, which is led by the government negotiator in the blue zone, where procrastination happens at a snail's pace, not much kind of progress and solutions. But there is another outside COP, which is very, very important for our resilience building today. As Mr. Hassan, you have mentioned about what is our plan. And I think our next plan, I believe our next plan is so that we can have an event. I think you all have applied for some side events, and there is specifically a group called Race to Resilience. They have kind of a pavilion, so we can attend and participate in those events. We can jointly, now there is no time for jointly, formally organizing an event, but we can attend those events at the Race to Resilience Hub, who are very generous also in offering us coffee day long and day out. So we can join there. And the next thing is that after COP, as Mr. Hassan, you have asked the question, to know that Gabeshana, in fact, plans to organize this resilience hub. I think every quarter we can do this. This is the beginning, But for 6 days, this will continue on 6 thematic themes. So more than 30 organizations will attend. So this will be a good learning lesson for us. And this is a process of learning by doing. And then in the next quarter, in January after COP, where we all will attend, I'm expecting, we again will organize this kind of resilience hub. And we very much welcome, ICAT very much welcomes the GCA, though it is Dhaka based, but GCA is the center for whole South Asia. So GCA, Mr. Mehdi Hassan, you can be a partner with ICAT to organize these kind of quarterly events. So we'll be very happy if we can do in partnership, not just with GCA, but if PRC, if you are ready, and also ICIMOD is an organization who is involved in many this kind of issues, and you do solid research. I know I visited ICIMOD a number of times, so we can jointly organize. Okay, I can kind of coordinate the process, but we all welcome, including ICLEI, to jointly organize this hub, resilience hub, every quarter. But now let us look forward to COP28, where we will attend, we will participate, and after coming back, we can share again the lessons that we have learned globally, attending the global events. So with this, I think we can, if you allow, we can call it a day. Excellent interventions, learning, and I hope my colleague Fatin, to you request is, please make a summary, not very big reports, not all the interventions, but just pick up the bullets of each interventions and try to synthesize, okay, and share the draft with me first before sharing with all our partners and the stakeholders.
Of course, sir.
So with this,
I have
thank you.
something to add, sir. Sir, can I?
Yes, sure. You have the last word, madam. Okay.
Thank you,
Yeah.
sir. Thank you, sir, for everything, your words and everything, for moderating the whole session. And sir, as sir have mentioned, we would love to collaborate with you guys for our future interventions and conferences and events like this. So as about the South Asia Regional Resilience Hub, the South Asia Regional Resilience Hub virtual event, currently we are this event is kind of, it's not something we are doing this year, it's something we have been doing for last 2 years. So after a successful inaugural hub at COP26 in Glasgow and in the second edition in Sharm el Sheikh at COP27, the Resilience Hub, which is a pavilion in COP, has been returned this year also with a dynamic hybrid virtual and physical space at COP28. They have different kind of approaches to raise the voices and to amplify the voices and perspectives of regional aspects of the most climate vulnerable regions. One of the most vulnerable climate vulnerable region is South Asia, which is why they have selected South Asia, and as a lead, they have selected ICAT to lead this kind of event, so that the voices from the organizations who are actually leading this kind of voices and working directly with the grassroots level people who are needing the voice. They are the voices. They need the voice in each community and in the South Asia regions. So we would be giving them this floor so that they can share their work with the grassroots people and give the voices to them. And we will be taking those key messages, as Mijan sir has mentioned. We will be taking those words, key messages with us to the COP. Following this event, we will be having a hybrid or a dialogue, after which we will be having this dialogue and we will be taking this to the Asia Pacific Climate Week. And we will be discussing all the key messages we get from this event, this virtual series of events that we are holding this 7 days. And we will be taking all these documents and of everything we will be getting from the experience of like you guys, like speakers and experienced researchers and practitioners like you, so that we can get a full document which can be take to COP in front of the policymaker, decision maker, and donor, so that those works solutions can be implemented. That is the main plan of the South Asia Regional Resilience Hub. And thank you everyone for joining today and giving your remarks. And I'm sure it was really insightful, and I'm sure it was really helpful for our audience to relate to you as you are actually talking to about themselves, about them, and they are facing these problems. And as Mijan sir has mentioned, we would be love to like collaborate with you after the COP as well. And thank you so much. That is where my speech has ended. And if I guess I can see another question. I think Mr. Suhaib Ali have asked another question, that there are many countries that have no industries and so on and do not contribute to pollution now. So how do you get climate justice? So Mijan sir or anyone from the panel, can you answer that question?
I will request Raju as a negotiator to respond first. Raju?
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yes, sure.
Well, I mean, in this particular context, I was just taking a session earlier this morning on this climate justice part. For sure, I think one of the things that we have been always saying is, in the negotiation, or whether it comes to our responsibility, it is the responsibility of the developed countries to really take the lead in terms of addressing climate change. It means that they will need to minimize the use of fossil fuel, whatever the context that they have set into. So I think the particular context, the leadership should come from the developed countries because they hold that responsibility. But at the same time, for our own economic development, even for our own national interest, it is important that we tackle this burning of the fossil fuel. At the same time, because why I say this in the national interest is, if we do this, we're also addressing, let's say, air pollution, which is like we get it through the burning from the transportation sector or burning of the fossil fuel, which leads to air pollution. I think that is a two-way process. But one of the things that I should very clearly say is, the leadership should definitely come from the developed countries, but at the same time, even a country like ours are willing to do our part in terms of addressing this mitigation side, then we will need to get support, whether it is a financial support, whether it's a technical support, whether it's a capacity building support, that support coming to us. Only then the climate justice angle will be delivered, because those who are the culprit of causing climate change are not taking the lead or supporting us, then we fail to hold them account. So in that particular context, that justice part is missing. And that otherwise, if we're asked to do on our own, then it means it's a double burden for us. On one hand, we're trying to deal with these pollutions and all these emissions, but at the same time, other things, we're also bearing the brunt of the climate change. And again, we're also trying to having to spend our own budgetary support into taking that action. So that does not lead to justice. In order for the justice to happen globally, the developed countries should provide us with the resources and financial, technology, and capacity building. Only then that the climate justice angle would be, it'd be met. In short, I would say that, but of course, we can always have a longer discussion bilaterally. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yes, thank you, Raju. As a negotiator, you know this climate justice is very well. You're absolutely right. The developed countries, both in the convention and in the Paris Agreement, they have agreed to lead. There are provisions to that regard. But at the national level, we have to ensure also justice too. Because impacted communities, we have disparities among different income groups. So the most vulnerable are also the poorest. So we have to ensure justice for them too. And once we do that, our voices internationally can be louder and stronger. And that is with this note, let us unite all the stakeholders together, focusing on the local stakeholders as the agents of change. And with this last word, let us call it a day. Thank you again to all stakeholders. See you at COP first, and then again virtual and hybrid. If we can manage funding, we can even have an in-person regional hub event, either in Dhaka or in some other capital. Okay, so let us think of funding possibility. Okay, thank you.
Very much.
Bye-bye.
Professor
Thank you.
Nizam.
Thank you so
thank
much,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you,
Thank
Fatima.
Thank
sir.
you all.
Thank you.
Yeah, look forward to seeing you all hopefully in Dubai. Okay, bye-bye.